Good morning from the east of Johannesburg. Today I am here talking to Kevin Wilson, who is the Group IT of Stefanutti Stocks Company. I've never spoken to somebody that is involved in construction before, so this is quite an education for us today. Kevin, thank you very much for making the time to talk to us today. Tell me a little bit about Stefanutti Stocks.
So Stefanutti Stocks is a construction company in the diverse sense of it, in that we have 16 different disciplines, from roads and earthworks all the way through to oil and gas pipelines. And we call ourselves multidisciplinary because the jobs that we do involve many of these different disciplines that we have working together in a single site. We're focused in the SADC countries, so we're not just South African. We have operations in all of the surrounding countries as well. And we're one of the 2 level 9 construction companies in South Africa, which is the largest grading that you can get as a construction company.
Great, very interesting. We saw some of the larger trucks and things outside, and also you were talking about it today. Tell me a little bit about your role here at Stefanutti Stocks.
So the construction industry is a very interesting industry. It is the lowest spender on technology. So when you go to Gartner or Forrester, one of these places, and you compare construction even to manufacturing or any of the guys slightly further up the pile, we spend less than 1% of our revenue on technology. And it doubles as you go up. Manufacturing spend twice as much we do, etc. And if you go all the way up to the network companies like Vodacom and so on, almost half their budget is technology, certainly the banks and so on and so on. But we still have to do pretty much everything they do. So we have to become masters at the art of not only cheap technology, but intermittent technology. Because we roll out 100 sites every year or more than 100 sites every year, and we collapse all that technology again. So the weird thing that we do is that we rip and replace 60% of our network every year. Wow. So it's the strangest way to do it. So we call ourselves the kings of temporary technology.
That's fantastic. And your role specifically?
So I'm in charge of everything with an Ethernet cable. I keep on telling people I'm the chief coffee drinker. Because we run very much like the bazaar, not like a cathedral. Everybody has to try and operate inside of the jurisdiction that they're in and with what they can get. So we issue broad blueprints, we train all of our engineers, we try and set guidelines and standards, and obviously we have certification because we're ISO certified. We're ISO 27001 certified, which is strange for a construction company, but we build data centers. We build key infrastructure pieces, so we have to be information secure as well. So from my desk, what I do is I look after all the core infrastructure with a small team of people in the middle, and then we are the governance and training and support for the broader IT community that we have. Most of it's in-house because of the nature of construction. Getting onto a site like this is not easy for a consultant or a contractor, but we do actually have a few contractors in the fold as well that we also assist, govern and regulate as far as we go. So my role is very much inside of that space. Far too many audits in a year, not enough technology. So a lot of governance, a lot of technology. We're very lucky to work with drones and IoT, and we've got quite a lot of AI in our space. So the breadth of technologies that we work with, AR, VR, we've got the maddest kind of stuff that's inside of that you wouldn't find in a standard bank or a insurance place or something like that, where their technology is mainly computer-based. A lot of our technology is physically based, which is quite exciting for me, I must say. So the breadth of technology that we have to regulate is quite wide, and that makes it difficult for us. But that's the main role that we play. And then the poor fellow that's in the middle of Zambia has to get what he can to provide to the sites and then ably support them in doing what they're doing. So we do need to set our standards very leniently.
So where do you source most of your technology from? Is it from overseas, not local?
So I have a black belt in open source. That's the trade I came from. So a lot of the stuff that we work with from a technology point of view is actually based in either code that we write, because we have a small development team that write our own code. A lot of the tools and facilities that we use are based in the open source market, and a lot of that's got to do with our 1% and the dollar being such an expensive thing. And we in-house a lot of our technology. So we literally do build and code a lot of the stuff that we do ourselves. And then there is your standard Microsoft technologies that you're buying. There are some standards that you do buy from the market, but we do get very creative about it. So we're not a Cisco house. We don't go and buy the most expensive networking equipment. But what we do buy, we carefully look at and evaluate from that sort of perspective, and then we certify our team on it so that we can provide the service, the after-sales service and support that it needs without paying the price tag of having those vendors inside of the loop. So we're trying to minimize our dollar-based dependency and then maximize what we can do internally, which means that for me, the resources that we have are the most important thing we have. The technology is less important than the person that's actually making it in our case, not just looking after it and running it.
So there's a lot of tweaking that happens with standard things that are available basically to suit your environment.
Yes, it's one of the things that makes working for us very attractive. We can't pay the highest salaries to our technical staff, but we've found that every single one of the staff members that has worked for us and moved on has always said that the breadth of the education he got in our environment was far wider than what he got when he moved further up in a corporate.
Yes.
They tend to put you into a little box and say, that's the job that you've got, off you go. In our case, you get to support everything from the server to the keyboard on a site like this because there is only you.
Yes.
And this is what really excites the people about working for us, is that they'll get to play with the drone as well as look after the server, as well as support the Microsoft infrastructure, all in one job role as they go.
Yes.
They really are the be-all and end-all to these fellows that are working out there.
Yes.
And we've gone into the digital world now where we actually have sensors on all of these trucks telling us exactly where they're going, how much fuel they're using, etc. All of that has to come up into the cloud and be analyzed. We've got to keep all of that running on site in the middle of nowhere. Some of these things are hundreds of kilometers from the nearest cell phone tower.
So you use satellite?
It would be lovely to use more of it. Elon's particular satellite network's not available to us in the South African context, but we do use it in the SADC context.
Okay.
And low orbit satellite is a game changer. It really has changed how we think about satellite. We'd pretty much gotten off of it at a point when we're using other alternatives. But things like Starlink and the new RoyNet that's coming out, I think will change that dramatically. We still, in a lot of the planting space, we're still using the cell phone networks in the background to bring a lot of the data back. But yes, network connectivity is becoming key because this is becoming an online business. We never used to be. We could, in fact, when I first got here, we used to switch off the mail server for days at a time to repair it, and no one would even phone us.
Wow.
When we went, because builder's break is like a whole month over Christmas, we used to go down to the basement and switch the servers off.
Wow.
And then when we got back, that we'd switch them back on again and start them up again. The industry's changed from the time that I got here to now, where we're now very reliant on the technology. It has to run 24/7. It's monitoring things 24/7. So it's really come up the scale. And I think that the people that we used to employ as technical people, that grade of person now had to be upgraded quite dramatically to somebody who can be very much a jack of all trades to support that kind of site.
So obviously, being in the construction business, you need to have some sort of an idea about construction. Was that a difficult thing for you to adapt to?
It was. So my history is quite colourful. I spent half my IT career on the vendor side. I ran one of South Africa's largest managed services environments with a few thousand engineers in the field and things like that. And we were always selling to the customer. And when I came to Stefanutti, I became the customer. And of course, I'm a difficult customer because I've sat on that side of the table for a long while. And I've always worked in the places where they spend more money on IT as a managed service person because they have the bigger budgets. And it was very interesting for me to come here and not only figure out what our business models were, because there's many of them. There's not a single construction business model. Civils have a very different model to roads and earthworks. And so the technology that they want and how they need it supported and the price that they can pay varies greatly between the two. So we had to learn all of those different business models, get very involved in what they want and how they want it, and then find a way to almost act as a little managed service provider inside the group and provide different technology to each of the different disciplines that are out there at the kind of cost they could afford. The first step is go to site, learn what they do, understand how they do it, and then provide something that suits them. The construction guys are quite straightforward. If you give them something they don't like, they drive one of those things over it and they hand it back to you.
Really?
Yes, we've got a few phones back with us. No, it didn't work. It didn't survive. You know.
That's very funny. So when you're looking for somebody to join your team, what sort of skills are you looking for? Because I've picked up Obviously, they're not going to necessarily have experience or knowledge about the construction industry. So that's something you can probably teach people. But what are you looking for when you look for somebody to join your team?
We actually have kind of a weird situation in that, so most of our staff are blue-collar workers.
Okay.
Bricklayers, those sort of people that we have in our organization. We're not very much a tie or degree kind of place at all. So I've always found that the normal plans that people have around grab a graduate, put him in an intern program, try and build him into the company, doesn't work for us.
Yes.
What I've also found is it's easier for us to take somebody who has the interest and the passion to go further, but has the construction background, to make a site engineer out of that kind of person. Because understanding our world is actually more important than understanding the technology. It's easier to teach somebody the technology than it is to teach them the construction world. So we've actually sort of looked at it from the other way around. We have got intern programs running all over the place, and although a lot of the people that apply do have quite a lot of qualifications inside of the IT world, we're more looking for people with practical experience. We're not fixated on the fact that you should have done a degree to start, doing IT in our place. We're very physical, on the ground kind of people. So you'll be pulling cables and crimping connectors and stuff like that to start with. So it's almost like an apprenticeship that we put the people through. And for us, return on character is like the biggest thing. You've got to be the kind of person that wants to live and stay out in the middle of nowhere. And a lot of these people, are out and about for 6-9 months at a time. They don't go home. And you have to be the kind of person that can make a plan with what you've got. So that creative, out-of-the-box thinking is what we need from these people. A lot of it is physical. And a lot of the infrastructure we look after is physical infrastructure, cabling, aerials, antennas, etc., which have to be set up. Often we move the site office halfway through a project, so they'll pick up everything, move it 500 meters, set it all up again. Very kind of on-the-ground, practical people as far as that goes. So we do find that that's an opportunity. There are so many of these kind of people trying to fight for the few graduates that are coming through when the likes of all of the more expensive places are fighting for them. We found was not the way to go. We've even done a similar thing with the civil engineering candidates that we're looking for inside of the schools and things. We're not fighting the battle for the top students there. We're finding all the people that sit just one echelon below that and finding a way to ably support them. And to do that, we're much more interested in a certificate-based or quite a specific training process. We often find people come in with a standard industry certificate, but we have blueprints that go quite far beyond that. But we always like to start with that. So if you're coming in with an A+ or an N+, or even a security plus in our space, and you're landing and saying, I have these qualifications, we're going, it's wonderful. Let's now teach you about construction. Then let's teach you about how we do construction. And then let's show you how you're going to apply those skills in the field. And we find that that's really been a game changer for us, whereas as soon as we stopped focusing on what the qualifications were that the person had, and said, if you've got the right character, the right attributes, we'll put you through the process. We'll give them the kind of certificates that they'd like to have through the process in the order that we see them in and with the background that we have. So when you're doing cabling in a building, it's very different to doing what we do on site.
Yes.
And that's the specifics that we get to. So I think it's been interesting for me. As soon as I stopped thinking like everybody else did, our intern program sort of started to give us great benefits.
That's fantastic. So when you say intern program, are you looking for people, obviously, then that has some sort of an IT skill already, like you said, and you can build on top of that?
So when we started the intern program initially, because we started one before COVID, then we had to close it, then we had to reopen it again after COVID. And the before COVID one was very focused around you must have an IT qualification, please have a degree that you're at least finishing, etc. And as much as that did work out, it took us a lot longer to try and sort it out. Most of those candidates actually shot out of the company too quickly. And I'm very proud to say most of them are now IT managers or CIOs or places like that already. But that's the caliber of the person you bring in when you aim at that level.
Yes.
We need more time with these people. We need 3-4 years benefit for the company out of these guys.
Yes.
So we're willing to dig much further down. And we'll take somebody that's just got a matric really and take them upwards from there. We're not fixated on that sort of process. What we are finding is that more and more people, because they're struggling, are going out and getting these certificates themselves to make them more attractive to the employment space, and yet they have no experience. No one's hired them yet.
Yes.
And they're having to get more and more qualifications to get in that front door.
Yes.
So it is getting trickier, but literally we'll start the guys from zero if we've got the right kind of person and they have the right kind of understanding of our industry.
Yes.
And we'd like to give an opportunity to people inside of our organization, maybe a foreman that has, ambitions of getting more into the technical space, etc. That would be great, yeah.
And that's obviously a plus because they already understand the construction side of it.
And we're expecting them to do a lot more. Our vision of the future, our foremen actually have a tablet. They've got a facial recognition device that they're doing the time and attendance with already. Okay. There's quite a few technical pieces that we're handing these guys, so they're getting quite skilled up in that arena.
Yes.
And with a little bit more training and education, we believe they could ably support a site from the technical point of view.
Yes, absolutely.
That allows me to double my technical staff without having to go too far. So we
Yes.
do take the point of finding some power users and educating them up a little bit further as well. There's not a distinct line between IT and the rest of the company when it comes to technology.
Okay.
Technology is in the business, technology is in IT.
Okay.
And there's places inside of the business, if you can imagine, these are very technical things to start with. There's normally a tablet that comes with half of these things that belongs to the truck.
Already.
And you can remote control the stuff that's on there and so on. So we have highly technical people on both sides of the wire. So our relationship with business is very interesting. And they're often as technical as what we are, funny enough.
Very true. That was actually my next question, is that the equipment that you work with already has some technology.
Lots of it.
And do you then find that you have to tweak a little bit to make it fit into your organization and how you work?
We have to be very open-minded. A lot of the places that I came from or that I supported, like the banks and things, have a very strict, it'll only be HP, it'll just be, this is the golden image and it's all locked down.
Yes.
In our environment, we have to be very open because we work with 6 different brands of truck. We work with, 5, 6 different network vendors. I think our record's been 22 one year, different network vendors. So we have to be very open-minded about it, very flexible, and the integration to all these different things is something which we always have to keep in mind. And that's a challenge. When you limit the choices, it makes your support and servicing and knowledge easy. And when you can't limit these choices, you have to learn a lot more and be very open to all these other technologies. So we do find that our blueprints are interesting. So our network blueprint doesn't state which type of equipment you use at all.
Okay.
It just says how you need to configure it.
Okay.
And that was tricky because it took us a long while to figure out standards that you could apply to 3 or 4 different vendors that you could apply.
Yes.
And this is the way we have to operate our life. So they bring some interesting challenges. Each one of them has their own little unique things, saying, I need this, I need that. And we have to be able to accommodate that in our broader network and in our technology.
I think this is going to pique the interest of a lot of our IT people that watched our videos, because I've seen somebody was interviewed and he said he started off obviously with A+, Network Plus, Security Plus.
Yes.
He worked for, I don't know if it was a bank, I think he said it was a bank, but he worked for a corporate environment and he felt that exactly what you said earlier, it was very limited. And then he moved to a smaller company and he feels the freedom of doing more and it's outside the box, so it will definitely pique the interest. This is very interesting to me. I don't know anything about your company or your industry as such.
I in essence have a matric. I have something like 60 or 70 industry certifications.
Wow.
I have 2 half degrees, which I never finished because both of them never suited me. One was in electronics and one was in programming, and I fit exactly in the middle. And what I do in the infrastructure space overlaps both. So I've written programs in 40 or 50 odd programming languages now. And I've done everything from development all the way through to network and infrastructure servers, etc. So I'm kind of the jack of all trades, which is where I need to sit, because the breadth of technology that we have to support is very, very wide.
Yes.
And we have to know how they coded it all the way through to how we have to cable the thing. And I think it's just that example of saying to people, you don't need to have 2 degrees and an MBA to sit at the CTO chair.
Yes.
You need to be the technologist. And you never stop learning. And I find the people that arrive with a degree have been given lots of theory, but no practice. And without that practical application, we find it very difficult for them to fit into our world.
Yes.
Because our job is such a broad thing. I think it's easier for them to fit into places like insurance houses and things where they've got, an actuarial that looks at these figures or something. It's easier to take what you know and kind of apply it in a thin sliver.
Yes.
So now I'd like to see a future where we have more artisans, more apprenticeships, more certificate-based education than a degree which, quite frankly, by the time you finished it, is outdated in the technology we work in.
Exactly. Very true. So we also have a lot of young individuals who are building their career. What advice do you have for young people in terms of getting into the industry? Not specifically maybe construction, but looking at your own journey coming here, what advice do you have for young people?
The technical side should be a passion. You should like technology, you should like anything that's inside of there. I think the curiosity that you need to show is the key thing. And as long as you can retain your curiosity and realize that you're going to be learning for the rest of your life, and you're open to that process, I think people struggle with change, and they struggle, once they've finished university, they hope to never see another exam again.
Yes.
And that's not going to be true in our trade. I think I did 3 certificates last year. I'm now a certified external auditor for ISO, because it's just compliances that we have to do.
Yes.
So you keep doing this throughout your career. But if you show that curiosity, and even individually, I think the companies are not showing enough initiative, so you have to do it yourself. You have to, if you're interested in something, even if it's not in your job specification, go and do a certificate on it. Go and learn something inside of that space. Then at a point, those skills will come through, they'll shine through. And I keep on seeing it, that initiative that you have to show is then picked up by the company and pulled through.
Yes.
And there's seems to be just 2 types of people that I bump into along the way. Those that think that it's the company's job and initiative to grow your career, and those that think that it's their own. And definitely the second category have been far more successful from what I've seen previously. So that's been the main differentiator between the two. The 2 people seem to tell me that they have the same interest in the topic, etc. But one of them always seems to get ahead of the other one.
Yes.
And it's always that self-driven initiative that seems to get the people further. And I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that you actually may move quite a lot through your career through companies. So thinking that is going to be a stable item in your future, I don't think is true. I think you're the stable item in your future, and you need to drive that as you go forward.
Absolutely.
But I think that the future's varied. I think that what I've seen the most value in is intersections. So I have quite a few of them. But if you have an intersection of technology and finance, or technology and healthcare, or technology and construction, the intersection creates the value. So you need some business knowledge to go with your profession. So you do need to kind of aim at something and say, great, I'd like to be involved in the healthcare profession, but I'm in the technical trade, then overlap the 2.
Yes.
And the more things that you can overlap in the middle, the more value there is inside of that chair. So my chair has the technical leg, it has the governance leg, it's got a legal leg inside of it that you have to know and understand as well. And it's the intersection of those points that creates that value, that doubles the value. So if you can find not just that single technical passion that you have, but the other one that intersects with it, that will accelerate where you're going to quite quickly as well. Just like we've seen with the passion that the guys had for the video side here,
Yes.
that intersection of tech and media creates the same value for us.
So I agree with you 100%. You have to start maybe with what interests you and go from there, because there's too many people with just general, knowledge, and that's not good enough.
No, and there's so many people out there that are just doing this as a job. They go to work every day, collect the
That's
paycheck,
so
go back,
true.
etc. Finding a job that drives you and has passion in it, I think, is a difficult thing. But I've found so many people that are in a job think that technology might be something they're excited about. When they do dig into it and add tech into their current skill set, like we're doing with a foreman and so on, we find that magic. So, I think I'd like to invite, we're desperately short on cybersecurity skills, on data analysis skills, AI skills are short. 60% of the cybersecurity jobs are not filled. Now, we're just waiting for people to discover that they like CSI and they'd like to give it a bash. Yeah.
Wonderful information for everybody out there. I've learned a lot today. Can I ask one last question? How much of your time do you spend on site and versus in the office? Because it sounds like, or is it just stages that it goes through, maybe with a new technology or a new equipment that comes in?
We actually have a very strange cycle. So because the pricing is so tight, we kind of touch a site when we start it and when we end it. Okay. And unless they have a big problem in the middle, we don't really do too much with them. These days I go to site on an auditory cycle. So I have to go back and audit sites to make sure that they comply and stuff like that. But I've got, our staff actually spend a lot of time on site. And of course, when the site establishment happens, we're down there, we're busy putting all their technology down and we set it up. And it's actually the way that we pull them into the future. Mm-hmm. So we're always updating our blueprint, and then the next site that goes out gets the new technology. Okay. We don't go back to a site that's been running for 9 months and go and update its technology. Mm-hmm. There's no financial imperative inside of there. Okay. It's going to be gone in 9 months, so there's no point. Yes. When those guys come out of there and go into the next site, they'll be going, oh, so this is how we do it now. Okay, all right, no, it's lovely. We got the new tech now. So it takes me almost 2 years to upgrade the technology level in the company, because it takes us almost 2 years to cycle out the last project and start these guys in a new place. Mm-hmm. And that's the way that the tech cycle works.
This is very interesting and very exciting. I hope our audience also enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you again so much, Kevin, for spending time with us today. And that concludes our discussion with Kevin today. I have learned a lot. It's a very interesting environment, certainly not the people that we have interviewed so far. So I hope you find it valuable as well. Kevin, your internship program, is that mentioned on your website so people can apply?
All of our stuff's mentioned on our website, and there is a careers page there as well where everybody can go along and apply. We're currently in a cycle, which will mean our intern program will cycle out, I think, at the end of this year. Okay. Or towards the end of this year, so they'll open the positions in a couple of months for the next cycle.
Fabulous, perfect timing. So if it excites you to work in the construction industry and learn more about Kevin's world, that's where you need to go. Stefanutti Stocks, look at their website, we will link it below our video, and maybe you can be part of this exciting environment. Thank you so much.